Yes, go ahead.
So thank you once again. I briefly introduce myself. I'm the project leader of the Middle East Mediterranean Summer Summit and also the leader of the Middle East Mediterranean Free Thinking Platform at the Università della Svizzera Italiana. And as university, we are also partner in the Bites of Transfoodmation project. That's why I'm here today. So our project is focused on the Middle East Mediterranean region in a broad sense. So because we try to work on different aspects of the region. And so that's why, and I believe that Iman can explain a little bit more about the project and also this event. But for sure, one of the important element of the region is also the food security versus the food insecurity. And that's why, and we are participating in the Bites of Transfoodmation project, also because with the members, with the permanent mission of Switzerland to United Nations Organization in Rome, we share the belief in youth and in the belief that we can change the societies and that we can create better societies, more sustainable societies for the future. And for this, the Bites of Transformation focuses on food as a mean to create more inclusive and more sustainable societies. And also we really believe in the power of food as a unifying mean to shape this new society with the important contributions of new ideas and new projects promoted by young people and supported by our institutions. Let's say the university, that it's the place of the critical thinking, and also the Federal Department of Foreign Affairs of Switzerland, in particular the Swiss mission in Rome, that is really promoting this kind of work among different generations, among different countries, among different people coming from different backgrounds. So I leave now the floor to the Ambassador Pio Wennubst, who is going to tell us more about the project, about the food systems, and why the reasons because the Swiss department and the mission decided to work on this specific project. Thank you very much, Ambassador.
Thank you, Federica. Can you hear me? Okay, great. Thank you, Federica. Thank you, Eman, for inviting me and having the possibility to address a few words to you. Actually, about the project itself will be later on Ludovica that goes that she will bring in the element of the specificity of the project. I will be try to in few minutes try to explain why actually Switzerland has been so active this couple of years in relation to the food systems, working with the youth. First, as a general knowledge, systems don't change unless it's needed, unless they're forced to change. So usually, typically, you can find big changes of systems when you have a crisis. It's very rare that they change for the sake of changing. So, but why they change around a crisis? When there is a deep crisis, usually there is also someone who found already some solutions. Now, the change of a system is when the solutions are recognized for being valid, and then there is a process of generalize the use of the introduction of the innovations or the changes that will basically bring the system to change. And this will, and this is quite often linked with the youth, but I'm coming back to that after. So how can we detect so that the food is actually the system? I mean, it's intuitively is obvious, but as being basically managed, not as a system, but as a sector for many, many decades now in recent times. So agriculture sector, this means assure that there is enough production to feed the world, to then realize that we cannot feed the world still. So there is not only about production, but then there is also about distribution, about added value. Then there is about consumption. Consumption is changing. Countries that are increasing their revenues, there is less poverty, they tend to shift their diets towards more meat or certain kind of diets that actually are consuming more calories than others, and so on. There are several reasons for things to change. So intuitively, we can feel that there is something more than just production in food systems. Now, let's be more concrete. Take a crisis, because I was saying without crisis, no change, basically. Okay, let's take a crisis there. And I take the 2007-2008 crisis because it relates also to something that changed a lot in the policies of the countries of the Gulf, for instance. So the crisis of 2007-2008, food crisis, was a big one, actually, planetary, with a lot of riots in cities, urban areas, like, for instance, well known in Cairo at that time, but others as well. Were triggered maybe by the fact that the cost of both producing and transporting food, because of the high prices of petrol, that some of the crisis was triggered by that element. Like in the 70s, the crisis of the 70s was related a lot to the sudden increase of the cost of energy. But actually, we had a constellation of things happening at the same time. For instance, the realization, and this, if I'm correct, was in the case of Saudi Arabia and other countries of the region, realizing that water that is being consumed to produce cereals, actually even for export, underground water, was slowly, quite rapidly actually, has been used. And therefore they need to change something. So, and then countries like, I'm making very simple and too rapid maybe, but countries like that they used to export cereal, they became net importer at the same time. As I said, in the same time, regions like Asia and mostly China, where poverty reduction went very fast, this increased rapidly the consumptions of calories because of the change of diets. The high cost of petrol triggered also the uses of agricultural products like corn, soya, and others to produce energy, biofuels. By this increasing the cost of food in a very rapid manner. So you can realize that the crisis 2007-2008 was triggered by several factors happening at the same time. People might have thought that they were unrelated, but actually, if you look at them, they're all related one to each other. So it was a kind of a change, things happening one after the other. Once you suddenly you see the prices are going up, countries were creating tariffs, barriers for import, export. Instead of solving the problem, they were complicating it. They made even more dramatic the situation, if you want. And so there was already the first realization that we have to address the issues of food as a system, not as a commodity. Now, this realization became apparent, became even stronger when actually we accepted that the analysis done by the scientific bodies about climate change, that were not just a story, but actually this is true, that is happening. So, like the element I indicated about waters, but also the fact that the climate is changing also the conditions where you can produce and so on, agricultural products. So the realization that there is a need to look at the food in really systemic manner became apparent a few years ago. It became obvious with some studies that they were done in relation, typically notably with climate change. And this pushed the Secretary General of the United Nations to call for a summit, a food system summit. And not only to call for a summit, but call for a transformation of food system. The term transformation is something where basically countries are not necessarily agreeing what does it mean. But transformation means a lot, means big change, big times, right? Now, the point is that this, the idea to prepare the summit and to get into the summit itself that had occurred just now in a few weeks ago, at the beginning was to have an intergovernmental process, a classic negotiated process, like we had with the Paris Agreement or what we had with the 2030 Agenda. But then we negotiated for several years, 5-6 years. And food systems are complex. If you would have had really the need to negotiate among countries and among actors, private sector, civil society, farmers, and so on, 2 years were definitely not enough. And we cannot wait. We cannot wait 10 years to discuss this matter. We have to move fast. Therefore, the decision to transform this in a People's Summit. People's Summit means that the legitimacy of the process was not relying necessarily on the negotiation among countries, but on the fact that everybody's on board on this. And this opened the way for us to support with a project that now in few seconds, few minutes, 2 or 3 minutes, Ludovica will explain to you, to support a group of young ones in relation a lot, both with the knowledge of Switzerland and Italy and in the Mediterranean and MENA region, to actually start discussing about food systems and watch and how to change and who should change them and so on. This is the entry point of this. Now, why a project supporting the youth? And then comes back to what I was saying at the beginning, because usually changes in crisis are there already. There are already innovations that someone already find out an idea to how to overcome or at least partially overcome a problem. And quite often this comes from the young ones, that they have ideas, they have a new proposal and so on. The difficulties quite often is to bring these new ideas or innovative ideas and how you bring them at the end to scale in order to generalize a transformation, in this specific case, a transformation of food systems. And this doesn't come automatically. I mean, it comes automatically, but then the more you leave it like this, the more time it takes in order to generalize. So all the idea is to detect what's there, what's new, and to capacitate, to give the possibility for the young ones to lead processes of change by being concrete, by having another way of looking at things, at systems, and so on. And this is the reason why we engaged a lot from the very beginning with the young ones, because this is kind of changes, systemic changes that we are also facing in Switzerland. And we see that the best way is to have at least an intergenerational discussion, because we need to have someone that is not necessarily, not always the one in power, in an institution or higher up in hierarchy are the ones that are actually leading the change. Quite often, actually, and I speak even about myself, quite often our mandate is to perpetuate what we've been doing. So we need to find a way how to open up a dialogue, how to open up the space in order for possibility and plausibility also of changes to happen. And this is the point. I think I stop here, no? I think it's enough. Thank you.
So thank you very much, Pio. It's also, I think, really important to underline what the ambassador was mentioning, the fact that there is also a shift from the more institutional diplomacy. I'm not saying that it doesn't exist anymore, but there is a slow shift in any case from the institutional diplomacy towards what we can call civil society diplomacy or people diplomacy, because we really have realized as institutions, also as governments, that there is a need of an implication and engagement of civil societies, even in the more political and institutional processes. So I believe that this is one of the examples of this, both the Bites of Transfoodmation project and also the Middle East Mediterranean project. That's why we are also happy to be here in a university in the region, because it's also an idea to try to illustrate our ideas, this shift also to you, in order also to challenge this idea concretely in the field as well. So
if you allow me, just I like the term people's diplomacy more than civil society diplomacy. It's not because not to recognize civil society, but because we need to find a unifying way to go. Quite often we kind of put in an opposition civil society diplomacy versus governmental diplomacy, as if the two should be and has to be the opposite one against the other, which doesn't need always to be the case. And therefore, people's diplomacy, at least as a Swiss, where for us processes to institutionalize compromises is our way of living. So people diplomacy give a chance to find a compromise that is worth for all actors.
Yeah, it's true. I also believe that we need to explore a little bit further these definitions of a new form of diplomacies. So it could be also a subject or of future workshops, also because, as we know, civil society is quite different in different countries. So, you know, there is a lot of to think about there, because for sure the civil society in Switzerland is quite different of a civil society in North Africa or Middle East, but even in the Mediterranean countries. So it's also interesting to think about the complexity that there is also behind certain definitions. So I'm really happy that we have the chance now to speak a little bit about this. But I now leave the floor to Ludovica, that she will tell us more about the project Bites of Transfoodmation. Thank you, Ludovica.
Thank you, Federica. Thank you, Pio. And of course, thank you, Iman, for this great opportunity. I was happy that I met you at the MEM Summer Summit. That's how really this circle was created. And so before explaining the project myself, I will let the community of Bites of Transfoodmation explaining it by themselves through a small video that I will show you right now. 1 second.
Hi Momo, how are you?
I'm great. Actually, I'm calling you to tell you about an amazing project, which I think you should definitely be a part of. Have you heard of Bites of Transfoodmation?
Bites of Transfoodmation is a Swiss project.
It brings together young, motivated individuals from different countries, backgrounds, and realities.
All ready to be projected into the future of food systems.
To elaborate a shared vision and work towards a more sustainable, resilient, and equal future of food systems.
Bites of Transfoodmation is also an independent dialogue of the United Nations Food System Summit.
The summit will take place in New York in September 2021.
It aims to provide a program for ambitious new actions, innovative solutions, and plans to transform food systems.
And deliver progress across all the Sustainable Development Goals.
So what is the food system that we want?
The food system of the future is accessible,
Sustainable,
Pro-planet,
Affordable,
diverse,
Inclusive,
balanced.
climate positive.
The future of food systems should be tasty.
We want a food system that is interconnected and bearer of social proximity.
a food system that is fair and equal,
Which values our food and the way it is produced.
Where consumers are empowered to make the healthiest choices.
Food system that is balanced with our traditions and innovation.
we need a food system that is resilient,
transparent in a supply chain,
Where youth are leading the change.
We imagine a future food system that is healthy, that addresses things like the rise of non-communicable diseases and also tackles mental and physical well-being of our communities.
Having heard all of this, you might be wondering, how do we actually get there?
Through our Bites of Transfoodmation manifesto,
Accompanied by a set of concrete line of actions.
By working together, we'll be hopefully able to meet safely in person soon.
Focusing on what unites us and not what divides us.
Thanks to a multi-layered and interdisciplinary working process.
so join us in transforming our food systems.
Okay. I hope that you managed to hear well enough. I see that there are some messages in the chat. Okay. It's from our team. So yes, basically, how was this community created? It was really created in the context of the Food System Summit, as the ambassador was saying. And basically the idea was really how could maybe a place, a safe place, be given to young people to discuss and consult themselves on how this future of food system should look like. So the idea that came really actually to the ambassador Pio that is here with us was really, okay, let's create this space, okay, let's do it. So how do we do it? Well, we need to find engaged young people that have an interest in food system and want to change the status quo and are ready to address it like in a systematic and oriented to future way. So that's basically how it all started. We created this community that is about 70 young people, all with very different profiles. We have really architects, food entrepreneurs, farmers, activists, artists, etc. And since October last year, we have been meeting regularly, actually in these kind of settings virtually. And we've been discussing on this future of food system and how actually we would want them to be in order to be sustainable and resilient. And as you can imagine at the beginning, the focus was really to find a unified vision. And it might be easy now that we have actually developed this vision that is unified, but as you can imagine, we really had different profiles. So we have a chef from Colombia, a lawyer from Jordany, etc. So how this vision could be created together was really through this creation of trust, of belonging in this community, and really this same sense of willingness to change the future. And basically that's how in all these meetings, that some of them were also recognized as independent dialogues of the Food System Summit, which was one of the tools that was given to, let's say, civil society to actually be part in this Food System Summit that, as the ambassador mentioned, was very special in what it is, a people summit in which everyone could have been involved and actually right now can still be involved. And yes, so through these meetings, we developed this manifesto with some concrete line of actions that we will share in the chat soon. And in the meanwhile, this manifesto, which I will explain to you later, the main messages that are in this manifesto, has been translated in more than 40 languages, because really also one of the ideas is really to make it accessible to everyone, and the languages are really one of the starting point. And we would really also encourage you maybe to help us out with this endeavor of translating it. We have a few languages missing also from the region, so my colleague Valentina, she will also share a bit of information regarding that. And yes, so what is special about this manifesto is really, first of all, that it is a unified vision, and secondly, that it's meant to be aspatial and atemporal. Therefore, it will be applied and understood a bit differently depending on the local contexts, but the idea is that the vision is that unifying message for the future. And basically what we say in this manifesto, our main message is really that we want to have this ambitious transition towards more accessible, resilient, and sustainable food system. And this systemic change should allow everyone on the world population to share equally healthy and nutritious food. And this, at the same time, leaving our planet, living in a more healthier way, or allowing our planet to stay, not to overexploit it. Of course, we are very aware that this transformation really involves rethinking our traditions. So it implies renewed traditions. We will need to reorganize our habitats and our careers. And this all will be based on the determinants of health, and also on a focus on well-being. All this also, as the ambassador was saying, all taking into account the true value of food. So basically, really what we want is to create this movement to promote systemic change across all sector, all generation, and also different geographic realities. Voila, so really this basically is a little bit of a resume of our main message. And what we did after the vision of this manifesto was created is, through this vision, really now we want to reach out as far as possible with the vision, really unify with other people, expand our movement, getting bigger. So please get in touch with us if you're interested in getting to know more. And after all this virtual meeting that we were holding until, let's say, June last year, we finally got the opportunity to meet in person in Rome during a week, where we really had the opportunity, focusing on this unified vision of the manifesto, to work and develop some concrete projects, and that are currently still taking place, and that we really want to help developing further, and that the community is actually bringing forward. And some of these projects include the topic of edible insect in a, let's say, cross-regional collaboration for edible insect between Switzerland and Rwanda, vertical farming in refugee camps and small markets in Jordan, and different projects like these also on mental well-being related to farming and beekeeping. So just to get an idea of what they are. And yes, before maybe explaining to you what are basically now our next step as a project, I would want to show you another small videos, which is a recap of this week that we were lucky to share in June with this community, that will make you understand a little, grasp a little bit the atmosphere of this community and what we do.
So we're going to talk about habitats, and we're going to talk about well-being. In fact, we talked quite a bit about habitats and well-being.
So I believe that there are some technical issues. I see that Ludovica is frozen, so maybe we can, I don't know what we want to do.
Thanks. Maybe we can go to the next speaker while she reconnects, then watch the video later, or?
Okay, now it works, I believe.
Okay,
yeah.
She's back. I'm sorry, my laptop on the other room crashed, so I guess I will send you the video on a separate occasion that maybe Manchi will be able to show it to you later. I'm really sorry. I think, yes, it was maybe too much, the share the screen and the video. I don't know, I'm really sorry. But yes, so basically this video, I really hope that Iman will be able to show it to you.
Yes, definitely.
Make you grasp a little bit the atmosphere that is there in this community actually, but also that was created in this event. And yes, a bit also an idea on the topics that were discussed, which was really habitats, proximity, etc. So now I will explain a little bit on the next steps that we are planning for this community and this journey of Bites of Transfoodmation, because we still want to keep changing the future of food systems. So first of all, we want to get the community bigger, stronger, and reach out as much as possible with our manifesto, with our vision, with our line of action. And of course, this at KAUST is a great opportunity to do it. We did it during MEM. We did it during some side event at G20 and at the World Food Forum that just took place at FAO right now in Rome and finished yesterday. And at the same time, we have other events planned, like the COP26, which is coming soon. We are going to participate at Expo Dubai. Federica will explain a little bit more on that later. And also we are organizing an event ourselves again here in Rome that is going to take place in May 22, and really where the focus will be youth and food systems. And on the other hand, of course, we want to keep having these projects and these concrete aspects going on. So keep developing them, and this sense of belonging of the community, we want to nurture it and make it grow, etc. And yes, basically, so that are a bit our next steps. And really, if you are interested to getting more information, please get in touch. I will share my email and the email of my colleagues in the chat. And now I can give the word back to Federica.
So thank you very much, Ludovica. It's like, I believe that Ludovica was really able to give like a picture and also to give a little bit the idea of the spirit of this project and all the events related to Bites of Transfoodmation. So speaking of future events, Bites of Transfoodmation and the MEM Summer Summit will be present in the Expo Dubai in February, in the week devoted to food. And the idea is to organize a workshop on the unifying power of the food, in particular in the Middle East Mediterranean regions, and also the role of women in the food systems. The ambassador before explained very well how complex are the food systems, and also the fact that maybe we are not still really aware about this complexity. I'm speaking about public opinion level. So it's important to reflect a little bit on these complexities, to see how we can encourage a unified vision instead of let's say, an idea of also the food system based on divisions and different interests. And also it's always important to underline the role of women in these processes, that it's particularly important in the Middle East Mediterranean countries. So we will be able to give you more information about the event at Expo Dubai in the next weeks, but if you are interested to know more, please write to us. And also I would like also to add that even in these events, we will give a lot of space to young participants and also young members of the BOT community. So maybe Ludovica wants to add something else, I believe.
Yes, please. I will try to share another small image, which is the somehow the illustration of the vision that is our manifesto. And also I would wanted to share with you that we are actually in this reach out phase of our vision community. We are launching a signature campaign. So I would also encourage all of you to have a look at our website and read, of course, our manifesto, look at the visualization that I'm going to show it to you right now. And if that vision speaks to you, of course, sign it. And then, of course, if you're interested, get in touch with us. And now I will try to share this. Perfect. So basically that was the visualization. Thank you, Federica. Thank you, Iman.
So now we can open the floor if Iman, you think that the audience has some question for us, or you have some question for us. So we are ready to reply to questions or to listen to comments and remarks. So
thank you. Thank you so much for your inspiring, great presentation and coming today. I would like to ask you if you can give us more about the manifesto, and if you can show us some of the art images you've done from maybe the website quickly, and how that could, this unifying vision to bring sustainable societies. Can you pull up the manifesto quickly? The visual elements of the manifesto. That
yeah, Ludovica, could you do this?
You want to see again this illustration?
No, maybe if we can speak a little bit more about the manifesto and show some articles of the manifesto, was asking Iman. Am I right, Iman? This
yes.
Is, yeah.
Yes, for sure. So I will share the screen again. Maybe I will open it first. And you can find the Transfoodmation manifesto in our website in, as I said, more than 40 languages. And now I will share a bit of it with you on the share screen. So basically it is organized in...
we cannot see your screen yet.
Yes, I'm still looking for...
okay. Take your time.
When it is ready. Okay. So 1 second. Okay, can you see it?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So yes, we have this small preface where we say who we are, and basically states our main vision, which is what I said, like this transformation in a systemic way based on the unified message, as we see, like with the unifying power of food at the center, because we really think that food is something that should bring people together, and we really believe in that. And here actually you can see in each paragraph of the manifesto you have one illustration that was developed actually by one of the members of our team, who's an architect and visual illustrator. And somehow the idea of this manifesto, it's really that it is a little bit of a path And this path recreate a little bit this image that I showed to you earlier, where you created this kind of snake. So first of all, the first paragraph is really on narratives and advocacy. And here Federica is really the specialist. So if you want to compliment me on that, but really here the idea is that we need a change of narratives, how we talk about things, how we express about things, and therefore this implies really that we need to rework our life habits and the way we move, we consider time, we produce, and transform and consume. I don't know, Federica, if you want to compliment a little bit me on that. Okay. Then, of course, the second paragraph, as I mentioned to you, we were aware that this transformation that we are aiming for really will imply a change in our habitats and the way we move into space. And here you can see a bit the illustration of this second paragraph, which focuses on habitats and proximity. And here the idea really is that we want somehow to break this wall that right now still exists between the rural and the urban space. And we want to do it by creating shorter, let's say shorter and more connected chains, and therefore this aspect of social proximity. And yes, so basically with this paragraph, we commit to breaking down these walls and to reorganize our natural habitats to according to this principle of subsidiarity and social proximity that I talked to you about. Then, of course, we have the paragraph diversity. And here on the left, you see also an illustration. And here, at some point during our discussion, we're a bit stuck with the idea of diversity, which sometimes is brought forward as a disruptor element. But we, in our manifesto, we really embrace diversity. We nurture diversity, and we believe that it's an extremely empowering factor. And therefore, yes, we commit to really this kind of initiative to support all of them. And we want to avoid, again, with the linkage of this change of narrative. As you can see, this is a shape of a clepsydra. So we don't want all these different idea projects to be shaped somehow in only one narrative, but we embrace the richness of diversity and having these different narratives around food systems. And this is the second last paragraph, which talks about renewed tradition and empowered culture. And this is what I meant also at the beginning when I said that we are aware that changing the future of food system to make them more sustainable and resilient will imply that somehow we renew our tradition. So we celebrate what we have in the past, but also we use the new tools that we have right now, which are technology, interconnectivity, etc., in the right way, like with a unified vision, with the focus on accessibility, to have a really more enriched and empowered societies with renewed tradition at the center. And yes, a new empowered culture where everybody can access it, access this knowledge, access these exchanges, etc. And finally, the digitalization and knowledge, because what we state at the beginning of our manifesto is what we need to do it now, this transformation. And one of the reasons is, of course, we have to do it. At second, we can do it. And so basically right now we have the tools, the knowledge, and technology and digitalization, if used in the correct manner, can really be somehow connectors and enablers of this transformation. Therefore, this is really a paragraph on how really this digitalization and knowledge sharing, data, etc., can be empowering in this direction. And finally, sorry, I forgot about this last one. It's about affordability and true value. And that was what the ambassador was really saying at the beginning. So we need to change our perception of food from the perceiving it as a commodity to really as a public good and really understand its true value. And also we want a food system that is healthy, nutritious, and affordable for everyone. And yes, I think I covered a little bit the content of the manifesto. I don't know if my colleagues or Federica or the ambassador want to complement somehow.
Thank you so much for this insightful discussion and talk. And now I know that time is running quickly. We're approaching 1 p.m. here in Saudi Arabia. I appreciate that you can stay like 10 minutes more. Please do not feel obligated to stay, but we would welcome now questions.
Sorry, Iman, to interrupt you. There is the ambassador wants to add really something just to show you again the important interplay between these people movement, young people movement, also the institutional and the political level, because after the UN food system conference, we had also some let's say some other aspects where we are involved. So I give the floor back to the ambassador.
Okay, please.
Thank you. So maybe 2 points. The first could be this is what the first point very rapidly is okay. But the manifesto, how this concretizes, how can you be concrete? Just an example of a project that I just saw a few weeks ago. An expert in that studied aeronautica. This means an engineer of the space, basically. Then developed an activity that and got linked with farmers, smallholder farmers, actually creating a network of farms that are using drone technology that led to focusing in the uses of water. So they were actually managing in an area that is actually water is a big problem. They managed to produce better, diversified food, consuming 20–25% less of water. So just this is something, just gives an idea of how concrete it can be, this change. Now, the second point, which is maybe the one I wanted, for which Federica gave me the floor, is simply to say next week we'll have the Committee on Food Security annual meeting. And just will tell you a few days in advance or something that I mean, I'm saying it now, even though I should wait, but I will do it now because we are now sitting here. Switzerland will be nominated to facilitate a policy convergency process that actually takes, starting from a scientific committee report on youth engagement in relation to food systems, that we will basically, Switzerland and in my person will be facilitate a negotiated process, an intergovernmental process that includes both countries, but also private sector and civil society in finding the policy guiding, policy recommendations to be implemented in making this what we want, youth leadership becoming true. So this is where also the work that has been done by both the people of this project, but in general, the young ones active around the world, this is the way that it enters into the intergovernmental processes.
Wonderful, wonderful. Do we have any questions from the audience? Yes. Can you throw the mic? Yes. Yes.
Hello, thank you very much.
Can you please introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Anna Costa, I'm head of sustainability here at KAUST and supporting the sustainability group. Thank you very much for showing us the framework of this network. I think it will be interesting, we don't have time for that, but to explore the practicality of this network in the context of Saudi Arabia, and what kind of projects are we aiming for? It's a very, I would say, challenging environment. We don't have, as you know, a lot of food production in the kingdom. We depend a lot of importing food. So the question of bringing local food is very much a challenge. Situations like this, and the question of water scarcity, We actually have research on this area in the university, and we have a specific, it's a company, it's a startup from KAUST that is producing organic vegetables from salty water. But it is, you know, it's the problems that we are facing in this part of the world, as you know, are so different from even Mediterranean countries. So I think making probably in the future discussion, what kind of projects, concrete actions can we leverage from this platform, I think will be really useful. How we can connect with others, for sure in the Middle East, and discuss possible collaborations. There's certainly the will. We just need to create the right platforms, but there are a lot of challenge that we have here. Thank you.
Thanks. Was this clear? Was the question and comments clear to you?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I believe that the ambassador can reply to this question, and maybe I can add something at the end. Yeah.
It could be me or Ludovica, but we are sharing, as you can see, we're sharing the same, we're just shifting. So I can offer you a tentative of understanding from an interested external person. So the limits how far you want to go, you can go. It's up. It's you that you're setting these limits. What I mean by that, if in the community it works out, and this has been already mentioned, the issue of water, whether it's in the MENA region with the scarcity of water, or whether it's in other places, maybe it's the opposite. If the issue of water is something that is totally important for this, it's getting in touch. This, you could use it as a platform also to get in touch about other experiences. So the salinity, the work on salinity, high salinity endeavors for agriculture, this is something that has been done already from the 60s, 70s in the region. And there is a lot of knowledge there. But also we know about the limitations, about the soil salinity that is increasing and so on. So there are several things that can be shared and discussed. There is all the issues about the uses of wastewater. I mean, 2% of the water used for human consumption in the world is being recycled, only 2%, and is focused only in one region of the world, basically, which is basically Europe. So there is a lot of things that can be done, but what is important is to find you guys, the young ones, to find a way to interact directly one to each other, because then you can also get access to knowledge here and there, and then inform people like us that we are working simply in the normative arena, if you want, soft normative arena, so that we can bring certain things on board. You know, in the education, for instance, life science, that these are faculties that are combining different scientific subjects from physics, chemistry, biology, and so on. These are relatively new compared to the past. It is a first tentative to give an answer that is more systemic in certain problems. I don't know if you want Federica to add some specific projects or this stage, or will you? Okay, go ahead, Federica.
So what I wanted just to add is that we offer two platforms in the end that they work together, let's say Bites of Transformation and the MEM Summer Summit, in order to offer you a safe space to know more about other projects, to reach out with people that maybe are facing the same challenges or working on the same topics. And you mentioned the fact that the situation is quite complex, and we are aware about this. So it's really complex if you think not only about the food system, but in general about a region such broad as the Middle East Mediterranean region. So I believe that we can offer you some some inputs, some insights to put you in contact with the other people that are working on the same topics. or they are facing the same challenges, but also it's, as the ambassador mentioned before, up to you maybe to come to us with some proposals and see if we can help you with these means. We are not developing autonomous projects, let's say. We are not providing financial support, for instance, for these projects, but we can do a lot. Pio, please.
Yes, and what is important, thanks Federica to clarify that the role is not I don't know, an agency. Neither MEM nor Bites of Transformation is not an agency that does financial support or something like this, but what implies is, for instance, take the project that you mentioned previously about the vertical farming in a refugees camp in Jordan. This sounds so technical, right? Because it's actually about the best uses of small spaces, little water in a focused manner for an environment where actually you don't have access to diversified food. But then, of course, the point is, the big discussion is governance, is related to how is not just the technicality of it, but how can we create, or you create, a conducive normative environment that makes that migrants that are stuck in a certain situation but with a certain expertise, they can actually become useful for themselves, but also for the societies where they are being hosted. And this is the reason why the connection between MEM and Bites of Transformation, in this specific case related to food, is so important, because you are the ones that participating, the young change maker in the MEM, are those the one that sees the political implication, the governance related implication of certain things that maybe need to be changed. And on the other hand, you have also certain technical bracket solution, and it's to kind of find the interrelation between them. Now, why a manifesto? Because if you don't have a unifying vision where to go, you will get lost, like many do actually, because you can also imagine, okay, tomorrow we will feed the world that is asking for a personalized diet. You could do it by simply say, okay, we create a huge industry that offers integrators that actually makes that you can, like in certain movies of the 60s or the 70s, you can create your diet by adding few pills here and there, that's it. Or you can find another way, which is working on diversification of food production in a more proximity environment, as like is happening these days, from shrinking to for instance, from 1,000 varieties of rice produced and traded around the world to 5 or 6 varieties. Now things are growing up again. There is also again a diversification. And these are choices that has to be put in relation to the way you change your societies. Maybe integrator will be perfect, a perfect match for certain cases in which you need to assure accessibility to food that is bringing the nutrients that are interesting, that are important, maybe even in refugee camps or even in cases of hospitals. The diets related to certain conditions are using a lot of integrators. So it's not being against or in favor of integrators, but how you want to shape your society in the future. You can have different ways, but you need to have this unifying vision that the young ones created. Thanks.
Thank you so much. This is a lot of insight. Maybe last question, because we need to answer. I think you have to leave now, right? Or can we take one more?
No, you can't. We can take one more.
One last?
Yeah.
Any very curious question? Yes, go ahead.
Thank you for the interesting talk. Very straightforward in the KAUST source.
Can you?
It's a.
Can you?
Yeah. With regard to the last point in your manifesto, we talked about affordability. I'm just curious about the comparison with the organic food movement and the price differences between organic produce and conventionally industrially farmed produce. I just wonder if you have a comment on how you can address the financial difficulties with trying to keep these small independent farms financially viable compared to the large-scale industrial ones. Because like the large-scale industrial ones, although they have many problems, they're still very energy and cost efficient. I was just wondering if you have any vision for how you're going to overcome those barriers.
Sorry, Eman, can you sum up a little bit the question, because it was quite difficult to hear, you know, the sound wasn't clear for us.
Yes, he said, how would you go about the challenges between independent small farming and organic industrial farming? How would you create this new narrative? Yeah.
Can you hear me better now? Maybe I'll hold it right up to you. No? Okay.
Or you can come in the front if I did not say it.
I will take this one if you allow, Fede, and then maybe you can complement me. So we have actually one of the paragraphs of the manifesto that really addresses somehow this topic, and it's the one about interconnectivity. So with our manifesto, with our vision in the group, we don't really believe in this scale up idea. We thought about it really a lot, and we came up with the idea that we don't need actually to scale up anymore. Like it has been done already, and probably it's not the solution, but we rather believe in the power of connectivity, in creating this connection and this how to say net, creating this net among all these small initiatives, which can be organic, not organic, but really small initiatives that have this aspect of maybe shorter chain, etc., but are all interconnected through technology, through new tools, through macroeconomy, and really not anymore in this concept of really scaling up in order to be financially sustainable.
You want to add anything? Oh, yeah. Here, just direct.
Okay, yeah, no, that answers my question. Is more, I completely agree with everything you've talked about. It's more the trying to address the struggles that the organic food movement has faced with trying to become economically viable and trying to compete with these incredibly energy efficient and cost effective industrial farms wherein people effectively vote with their wallets. And I was just wondering how, if you have any vision to overcome that, but if you're thinking that it's going to come through close networks and interconnectivity that somewhat addresses the issue.
Can I take this one with an example that where, of course, you will say Switzerland is easy because you're a rich country. No, but the big discussion we are having is how we, for instance, we will have to use subsidies in the future, right? Because it's interesting that when it started the organic farming movement, this didn't receive subsidies. Now organic farming makes 20% of the agricultural business in Switzerland, which is a big part. Now the point is, and this leads to the issue of the true costs, right, and even the true values. The point is, what Ludovica was referring to first is the scaling up done in a way that the interconnectivity allows you to know, because one of the main problems with when we, for instance, you talk about perishable goods, fruits, vegetables, this is a classic, that you usually reach a up to scale mechanism by increasing the size of the company so that you can make economy of scale, of course, because you manage everything from the production till the market. And it's the case of the banana, if you want, the chiquita all the time. And by the way, in the 90s, they went backward, but this is another aspect. But the point is that if you manage to use the technology and the connectivity, including for what is the post-harvest and marketing in a much more organized manner, you can actually rely on smallholders in order to assure the long-term supply of food and even accessibility, which doesn't mean necessarily to totally replace trade. Is not the point. Trade will be always useful, but it should be used when it's useful, when it's needed, and not when it becomes the only way to produce. This opens up a lot the discussion of subsidies, of course, that you know that is something that we've been discussing everywhere. So a lot of the production of the current mainstream system is actually highly subsidized. Now, the point is that are we subsidizing it, which means giving a public value of what we are doing. Subsidize means this, actually, is the public value of the goods. Now, the point is that if we manage in the future, you, the young ones, manage to redefine what is the public values of food, you might also reorganize the incentive, the famous blended finance. And this is also part of the discussion of the solution, for the solution. So at the end, it's like, you know, if you are farmers, in the past, they used to receive subsidized access to diesel, to oil for your activities, including heating up the air for your fruits production in areas where you might have freezing times. Now, the point is that how can we use different kind of support that allows you to maybe change the way you produce in a way that is more sustainable, in the same way, in a way that is assuring the supply for consumers. And this is all the discussion about the changes. The issue that, and therefore it takes, of course, time, but the issue of sustainability, including financial sustainability, is not necessarily always the same way it has been talked about. That by reducing diversity and focusing where you have comparative advantage, you have actually the economically more viable solution. Because at the end, consider, at least we consider in Switzerland, the cost of the health systems, for instance, right? It's massive. What we spend as citizens every year for making sure that our health is well taken of. It includes also the certain, now it comes more and more clear that certain diseases or certain problems we're having are related to some of our practices, including uses of pesticides and so on. We know that now. It's then whether we want to know or don't want to know is something different. But we just had a vote in Switzerland whether to totally ban pesticides. It didn't go through, but 42% of the population said yes from one day to another. So this means that there is a willingness to bring a change. Now, this change has to be well thought. So what about if by having better, more sustainable and healthier way of producing, for instance, we have less problem of health in the future? We might shift some of the financial costs related to health systems into something else, into well-being. This is the kind of reasoning behind this working on a unifying vision about the future we want, because this will imply, of course, shifting the way we support publicly also private sector investments, for instance. It's not, of course, we can discuss debate. I think we could discuss a debate for ages, but it's just to give you a flavor of what are at the end, the practical, even policy implications, and that makes that this linking movements like Bites of Transfoodmation and the MEM Young Changemaker makes sense.
Thank you so much. Would you like to add any comments?
That was a great comment. You raised good points about how we effectively subsidize farming and the other social implications of it. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much for the enriching talk today. And we will keep in touch again. And we hope to see you one day at KAUST and to host you in our beautiful campus. And please, we will keep in touch. Thank you so much and have a wonderful day today. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much, Eman, and we invite all the students, the people there to join us to know more about, to ask more questions about BOT, and we are more than glad to interact with you, all of you. Okay, thank you very much, Eman, once again.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye. Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye. Bye.
Ludo, Valentina, te lo chiedo a te perché la Ludo è sparita. L'evento è stato spostato a maggio?
Sì, esatto.
Ah, ok.
Per ora stiamo pensando al 21 maggio.
Ok, ok. Niente, visto che così almeno
Sì.
so. Ok.
Settimana scorsa.
Sì, perché lo so, poi in realtà
Ah,
venerdì abbiamo anche cioè sapevo che erano andate a casali del
e
Pino,
loro
eccetera.
hanno proprio proposto quella data lì, il 21 maggio.
Sì, sì, no, e quindi poi venerdì abbiamo una riunione per fare un punto della situazione, però visto che l'hanno menzionato maggio, mi sono...
Ma in realtà non è ancora sicura la data, però adesso...
No, la data però che non è più aprile ma maggio, insomma.
Probabilmente sì.
Ok,
Sì.
va bene. Ok, perfetto, grazie mille, a presto.
Dai, a presto.
Ciao.